The Premier League has some of the greatest managers in the world, but it also has some shit ones. We're going to go through the best managers of this Premier League season and some of the worst. So yeah, let's talk about the best ones first, shall we? And I'm going to start us off with the best because let's face it, I think this should be on both of us, but it's Pep Guardiola.
Of course, Pep Guardiola's top of mine. The sent like 3 times he's got Centurions. I know we're just mainly speaking about this season, but even the way he's just changed City, the way he's changed the dynamic of football overall, it's just immense. That is,
I think it's highlighted by the fact that he's changed City this season. He's changed the way they play this season. And he's incorporated Haaland a little bit more. That's not to say that he's completely abandoned his own tactics. They still like to push to the byline and cut it back, but it
yeah,
has allowed for that number nine play that he never really incorporated before, and it just
yeah,
shows
of course.
how good of a manager he is.
That's that season as well. There's all this thing about how Haaland is like ruining City, and now it's like Haaland is like the best striker,
Yeah,
to best number nine to be seen, the best, like the perfect striker for anyone,
no,
really.
he's done an
I thought
incredible
that's
job.
something comes to my head.
Yeah,
Yes, thoughts come to my head, especially this season. Mikel Arteta. What's your thoughts on him?
see, I've put him as number four for me.
Ooh,
Um, I think there are managers better than him this season. I think if he'd have if they hadn't dropped so many points in the last few weeks, he would be one of the best, if not the best, and would win it. But the pure capitulation of Arsenal, that's
yeah,
down to the
yeah,
manager. Like
yeah.
the,
I think some
the
some
mentality
signings
there.
probably, yeah, some signings probably I don't think was that clever. I think they thought they was being clever in January, but I don't think he was being so clever. Jorginho, like he's a good player, but
Yeah, I
I think
don't
they could
really
have
get
done
that
better.
one.
They were 8 points ahead when they signed Jorginho. Now they've lost the title.
That's that Chelsea
Um,
curse.
yeah, he's the Chelsea curse. Another player, another manager that's standing out for me, Roberto De Zerbi,
Yeah.
the manager.
He's you know what? He's somebody, you always say, oh, I'd like to go for a drink with him. I really wouldn't because I reckon he's a massive prick. Like, I reckon he's like a horrible person to have to actually interact with because he looks so full of himself and so and so extra and so like next level. But you
Yeah,
have to give him the props. Like he is clearly doing an amazing job because Graham Potter did a fantastic job at Brighton, but they couldn't score. Like that was their biggest problem. They could build up until the chance and then they could never play it away. But De Zerbi's actually like finished that off, kind of.
I don't know how into expected goals you are, but there was a stat when Graham Potter was at Vingus. I've heard this especially in different podcasts that Brighton underperformed their expected goals like substantially.
Yeah.
It was quite bad. On your point of going for a pint with a manager, who would be the manager you would want to go for a pint with?
Oh, well, firstly, Sam Allardyce. I think
Sam,
I think Big Sam could give us some stories.
wise words.
I'd go for a pint with Sean Dyche.
I'd go for a
He's
pint
just
with Klopp.
Jurgen Klopp. I'd smack him. I'd smack him. And that's not just because I'm a United fan. That's because I just genuinely don't like the guy. He just comes out with utter bullshit. And I know a lot of people will probably think the same thing of me, but when negatives collide, it's not good.
It'd be so entertaining. They would. Another manager I'd like to mention, he's only joined like well not recently, but partway through the season. I guess he has two, but Unai Emery.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Unai.
Seeing the stats, where have you put him in your list?
I didn't even put him on my list.
Whoa! There was you seen the stats at some point that like Villa were like one of the most informed teams in the Premier League. Like it's one of them.
Yeah, I mean
He's got
they
to be up
really should have
there.
beaten Liverpool as well.
Yeah,
Missing that penalty. Yeah. Oh, I feel bad now. I did forget about Unai Emery. I suppose if we're thinking, best Premier League manager of the season, to be the best, you probably do have to be here a bit longer. But
Yeah, you
did
do.
he get
That's why I think
nominated for?
Deserbian Emery maybe. I
Did
just
it,
huh?
did Unai Emery get nominated for PL Manager of the Season? I don't think he did he?
I'm not sure. I think it's one that he's not been in long enough. I always think that I guess you've got to argue that Pep spent a lot of money, but
Yeah. But
it's
there's
been
always
good
those
winning.
stats, isn't there, that, oh, Manchester City actually haven't spent that much money. And I'm like, come on, you just spent like 50 odd million on Calvin Phillips, who's sat on the bench. Like,
Oh,
you,
but
your money's been spent on your bench, which makes you one of the best teams. Like,
people don't understand that all Premier League clubs spend a lot of money.
yeah, yeah,
All
definitely.
of them, United do. It's not an argument of, oh, you've spent more than you. You're spending a lot of money. You're spending ridiculous price tags on players that they probably
Yeah,
shouldn't be.
no, definitely.
Well, shall
One
we?
person I want to shout out is Gary O'Neill at
Yeah.
Bournemouth. I think see a lot of people think he should have been in the race for Premier League Manager of the Season, and it's a big shock that he wasn't nominated. But I don't think he should be because ultimately he has done an incredible job with Bournemouth, and they are safe. But what are they 15th? Like they're not
But
top
I
of the
guess
table.
when he came in, it was Bournemouth are going down.
Yeah,
Bournemouth easy. Who you decide he's going to come last? Bournemouth, and he's just totally turned that around. They've not got the squad that should be in the Premier League, but they've managed to stay in.
true.
So I guess
You think
you've
they'll
got
get
a positive.
investment this season?
I
No.
think no, I don't think they will. I think they'll be doing the same next season if he can carry it on. I think he'll definitely be a shout for next season, manager of the season. But I'll have to see if they can get higher than 15th.
No.
No,
No,
do you
I
not think?
struggle, and they put that the Bournemouth admin put that clip together of all the influencers saying that
Oh,
Bournemouth
yes,
are going
right,
down,
yeah.
and I think it'll be the exact same next year. If I'm honest, I think
Might be you on
exactly
it next
people will
year.
be like, yeah, Bournemouth are going down because if they don't get any funding, if they don't get any new players in, those players aren't Premier League material. And you can
Yeah,
argue, well, of course, the Premier League material because they stayed in the Premier League, but no, it's not. It's not a. They've stayed up mainly because other teams are worse.
yeah,
Like they've done a great job, but there's too many other teams that have like been awful.
yeah.
And I think next season will be a bit different because you've got Burnley coming up that look
That
phenomenal.
company's
You've
looking
got
solid.
Sheffield United that look great, and I mean the playoffs. I don't know who
Who
the
will
hell
they be?
Luton maybe.
And then they're going to have to get a new stadium, aren't they?
Well,
I've got a question for you then.
yeah,
Is Mikel Arteta overrated?
yes, Over,
Substantially.
overrated by Arsenal fans. I think he's a good manager. I don't want to say that he's not a good manager. He's a good manager. But all this like prodigal son of Pep and all that rubbish, it's like we're very quick to kind of idealize these managers and they're having one good season. Like we forget last year that Arsenal bottled top four.
Yeah,
This year they've bottled the title. Like it's
yeah.
they
You get
do
to that.
really good things, but then they kind of capitulate, which means that's mainly on the manager. Like the manager should be the one who's controlling the mentality in the dressing room. That's his job.
Excited, don't really get too. Oh, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. And it's like you lost. It's like
Yeah,
oh. But they're a good side, solid side. And I watched thought they were a solid side. But I think it's like Liverpool. It's like they'll just keep going, keep going, keep going, but they'll get found out at one point. Give them maybe a season or two. I think if you don't sign the right players, they can easily get found. They can easily get found out.
yeah,
They've gone along with a young squad, which I think is good.
no,
But
definitely.
you need that experience. Like
There's
Gary
one
Neville, they
person.
had the core, didn't they? They had the
Yeah,
core for it, middle of players. That you need that. You need that solid core to like build a foundation.
there's one person that I believe you will really disagree with that I'm going to put in this mix. Antonio Conte. When he was
Right.
at Spurs, Spurs were fourth and they
I
were playing all right. They were making bad mistakes but they were playing all right. They were getting wins, they were getting draws, and they were solidly fourth. They are now out of the European spaces. And remember, that's European spaces as in 7 spaces with this new Conference League thing. Like, they are being beaten by both Brighton and Brentford.
I've got a very unpopular opinion about, well, what I think will probably be an unpopular. I don't think Antonio Conte should be sacked. I don't think.
I don't think there was a choice, though, was there? Like, he had to go.
Yeah. But I don't. I think something's got to build up to that. I think they should have tried to keep him. I think he was the manager for them. I don't think like Nagelsmann doesn't seem to really want them. I don't think Nagelsmann thinks he's bigger than Tottenham.
Nobody wants them. Like,
That's what I mean.
nobody.
They should have been trying to keep Conte all they could, giving him what he wants. He's a good manager. You've seen it. Chelsea, Inter, you've seen it.
He's a winner.
He's a winner. And Jose Mourinho's a winner. Failed.
They're a self-perpetuating problem, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like, what is the plan at Tottenham? There is none.
No, it's get the NFL in, get the go-kart track under the. It's all business at Tottenham. It's not.
We say that.
They're definitely selling Harry Kane this summer, I think. I think they're capitalizing on the fact that Harry Kane still had a good season in a terrible side. They can probably charge United 100 million for him. United are suckers enough to buy it, and they'll make money. It's all business. It's not a football club. I don't think it's a business.
Talking about Harry Kane, he has 28 goals this season, and he's not the top scorer.
I know.
That doesn't happen. A player doesn't have 28 goals and isn't the top scorer. Haaland is just out of this world. Again, you argue that's why Pep's doing so well. Is that why we put Pep so high? Is it because of Haaland? I wouldn't say so. I think they're cost side anyway. There's all sports, isn't there? And
it's just insanity. 28 goals is enough to win the Golden Boot, I think, in the last 10 years. Like, it's insane.
What makes a top manager? Is it consistency? Is it just the fact you've done good with something that's not so good? What is it?
I think the biggest thing is both consistency and tactical decisions, because your tactics comes from how you play, but also the people that you put out on the pitch, the substitutions you make. And then your mentality is as a manager, you're the one that's driving those players' mentality. You're the one that puts your arm around them and tells them if they've had a good or bad game and how they need to change. And I think that's why I'm rating Arteta so low, because Arsenal have just not had that mentality in the end, and that's his job to make sure they do. And that's why I'm saying that Pep Guardiola is so high, because to finish a season off with, how many is it now? 12 wins in a row? Like, it's insane.
One manager we haven't mentioned is Erik ten Hag. Both United fans, and we haven't brought it up.
I don't think he's there yet. I think Erik ten Hag has the potential to become one of the best managers in the league. I don't think he's there yet.
I don't think he's there yet. I think there's been too much that we've had a few disagreements on tactical decisions from Ten Hag. I've said I don't think he should have made X tactical decision. You've seen why, especially against Sevilla. We had a discussion about that. I think a few of his tactical decisions are a bit dodgy. I think he takes players off way too early. I think we'll be 1-0 up with 20 minutes to go, and he'll decide to take off everyone, as if the game's done. And I've seen we've crumbled a couple of times doing that.
Yeah, I think next season with a couple more players to round off the bench, those decisions will all of a sudden look like genius. I think the issue is, if you look at our bench, I say our bench because we're both Manchester United fans. If you look at that bench, he's not got enough to work with. He's not got enough to play with in game. So therefore, the biggest substitution he can make at the minute is bringing Garnacho on.
Yeah.
And it's massive impact. But I think anybody else that he brings on isn't an impact.
Well, Pellistri, I've seen him come on so many times. I think he's fantastic. Why is he not starting? Ahmed Diallo comes back. Is he going to go out on loan? But I think, anyway, I feel like we should leave United for another day, because this isn't a United kind of chat. This is a manager's chat.
Exactly. All right. So now, if we go on to worst Premier League managers of the season, I have a pretty good idea that we've both got one person at number one.
Yeah.
If you want to say the name,
Nathan Jones.
Nathan Bloody Jones.
I feel other than Nathan Jones though, there's not anyone that's like clear standout second.
I've got somebody, but I
Go
want
on.
to talk about Nathan Jones for a minute
Go
because
on,
I've
Nathan Jones.
never seen a more self-righteous prick manage a side and not do anything with it, and then just slate the players and then leave going, I was right all along. And it's like, no, Southampton have stayed in this league for 10 years for a reason. You
Listen,
come
it's like,
along and you destroy their confidence.
yeah,
You think that everything you're doing is right. You don't take any advice from anybody. You don't take any of the players' advice. You basically call them out and then you leave. And now Southampton are relegated. Yeah, Nathan Jones, he's not only the worst Premier League manager this season, but he's also a massive dickhead.
I think he's the worst Premier League manager of all time.
I think he's up there, you know. I think he is up there. I don't think there's many that should come close to him. I'd have to really think about it and really go back through the archives, but I think he's close.
Yeah. Who else is on that? Who else is on your list next then? Because
Oh,
Nathan
I've
Jones.
got
One point I've got to make about Nathan Jones is that I feel like a lot of his thoughts and tactics and like theories, very like it's all like in theory. Like, oh, I've read this book that says this. I'll just try and implement that, and it don't work. Like, oh, this I'll use this psychological like
yeah,
masterclass, and it just don't work. And that's how it ended up happening.
and it's not his fault that it doesn't work. It's the player's fault that it doesn't work.
So it's never his fault, is it?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, for me, I don't know who I think's a number two.
I've got
Like,
number two,
I think
like
there's a
by
few.
a mile, who is also one of the worst Premier League managers this league has ever seen.
Come on.
Frank Lampard. He's a horrendous manager. He is not actually a manager. He should stop trying. He's horrendous. He's awful. Like I don't understand why he still gets jobs. If I perform that
I feel
badly
like
in
I
my
do.
job, I would never get another job again.
I got two words here. Derby County.
He did all right with Derby. He didn't even like do
I know,
amazing with
but
Derby. He did all
I
right
feel
with
like
them.
people seen that and thought he's got potential. He's got potential. He can recreate that here. He can recreate it. He can do it. He can do it. And like everyone kind of thinks that, but in reality, you just had loads of Chelsea players on loan.
Yeah,
Still didn't get them up.
yeah. And it was just I really don't understand why he still keeps getting jobs. Like the Everton job, I can be all right because people can fail at Chelsea. We all see that. Graham Potter will still end up being one of Britain's better managers, I believe. I think Chelsea's a horrendous job to take on. So I can understand the Everton job, but he did so badly at the Everton job and then went back to Chelsea. Like,
It's
you
yeah,
can't
but I think
sack
there's a
Graham Potter and then go get a manager who was sacked from a side that was a relegation side. That makes
lot of
no
psychology
sense.
behind that. It does make sense.
It doesn't. It
It
really
does
doesn't.
make sense. This is a game where we disagree because it does make sense.
Go on
Frank
then.
Lampard has been brought in to keep the fans on side. What they wasn't gonna Chelsea wasn't gonna get like Pochettino in for the rest of the season. They weren't. Not it's going to take a long time to get that negotiation. They wasn't going to get Nagelsmann in for the rest of the season. You'd have to wait. So what's the right thing to do? Get a legend in, get the fans on side, get the players on side. They weren't going to get top four. They weren't going to get relegated. They
But
weren't
they
even going
still
to get.
had Champions League. They threw away the chance at Champions League
Oh, you
semi-final.
saying when? Yeah, no. This is when. No, they didn't have Champions League at that time.
Yeah, they did. Frank Lampard was managing them for their Champions League quarter final against
Oh,
Real
you
Madrid.
mean the Champions League game? I thought you meant to get to the Champions League. Yeah, but that see, I still think that Chelsea squad could probably get a point against United when we go and play them. So I'm worried about that.
United and Chelsea are guaranteed to have a draw. It's like 8 out of the last 10 times has been a draw. That's going to happen. That's going to be the
We'll have to
most
see
points that he
on
accumulates.
Thursday. But yeah, I think Frank Lampard going to Chelsea makes sense. To be fair,
I just I
that,
don't
that's a discussion for another day.
well, I just don't understand it. I really don't. But anyway, I've then got a couple that are like just managers that didn't really do anything that
I
you
got one
couldn't
for that
see
one
any
actually.
impact.
Patrick Vieira. What do you make of Patrick Vieira? His time at Palace.
I think he was unlucky. I think Patrick Vieira was sacked after a number of tough games. And then the the run that Roy Hodgson went on afterwards, they were all like decent games for a manager to have. I think
Yeah,
Patrick Vieira would have gotten those results.
yeah. So do you feel like he should have stayed a bit longer?
I don't know if he should have stayed a bit longer. I'm happy to see old man Roy back in charge. He's a funny little bloke, but I think Patrick Vieira is an all right manager, and I think he'll find his place somewhere in either the Premier League in a middling team again or abroad.
I don't know if he will. I don't know if he'll ever be overly successful.
Oh, I don't know about successful. I just think he'll be like, your standard manager that you know is a manager, and you're never gonna hire him, but you're also like, if you're somebody who's wanting to challenge, you're never gonna hire Patrick Vieira, I don't think. But I think if you kind of
I
want
think,
to
yeah.
bring somebody in to get you middle of the table, solid, keep stability for a while whilst you plan out your next moves. I think he's the guy.
I think his hope was that Arteta wouldn't work out at Arsenal and he'd take that job.
Oh, absolutely.
That was his hope. That he'd do well at Palace. Arteta would get sacked. He'd go in there.
Oh,
And that
yeah,
would
that was definitely the plan.
be a stepping stone type thing. What do you Ryan Mason? I have him as kind of a bit of a big question mark. Because again, I think he's one of them. He's not a manager,
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's not a manager, really, is he?
but he's a
He's
manager. But he's not a
he,
manager.
he is a manager, but he's not a manager. I don't. Has he completed all his coaching badges?
He must have done. Or else you got a Will Stills thingy
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. I don't know. He's an odd one. He might become a manager, but he's 5 years off having a job of his own. I think. I
I
think
think.
he's doing the right thing by remaining an assistant coach. I think
Yeah.
being an assistant coach, he's still only young. His playing career died of sudden death, and that's unfortunate for him. I shouldn't have used those words. I understand. That was tough, but you know what I mean. Like, it was very sudden, and
Oh, Ryan Mason died a sudden death.
yeah, there we go. There's the title. I think he needs that time. He needs to learn from somebody. You know what? He'd do really well if he went and been. I know he loves Tottenham, but he'd do really well by going to somewhere like City or United or Liverpool,
Really?
because not as a manager, as an assistant coach. Because, yeah, Tottenham has been great for him. It's his club. He loves it. But let's face it, they're not getting another top level manager.
No.
And he needs
I
to
don't think
learn more from another top level manager.
you need a top level manager. They've tried it. Didn't
Yeah.
work twice.
But Ryan Mason needs one. Ryan Mason needs to go and learn from it. He needs to go and do the Arteta school of management.
You just go work with Mourinho again or something. Go to
Yeah.
Rome.
No, exactly.
A nice little time there. Win some European trophies.
Yeah. Go and eat some pizza and pasta.
Lovely life.
Exactly. Right. So I just want to quickly mention three managers that I think haven't been up to scratch, but they've been not the worst manager, but they've not done much. That's Javi Gracia from Leeds. He just was there and then wasn't there.
He's also had a lot of stick from Leeds fans.
Yeah.
He arguably could be on there for one of the worst.
Yeah. So that's why I'm giving him an honourable mention because he's just like he was all of a sudden he was there and we're preparing for like to get us over the line and then for next year and it's like yeah no that didn't happen. Brendan Rodgers has gone under the radar because he did absolutely nothing at Leicester this season and last
This,
season he didn't do well either.
but I think it's one of them. Brendan Rodgers last season when Ollie was sacked, it was all the talk of Brendan Rodgers is going to go to United. When it was Klopp looking like he's going to be sacked, it was Brendan Rodgers return to Liverpool. He's clearly got people have got to see something in him if they see him going to these big clubs.
Yeah,
That's
because
my
they saw what he did in Scotland and they saw that he almost won the league with Liverpool, which was unheard of, making Liverpool win the Premier League. Like,
Brendan Rodgers to
but
Tottenham.
since then, he's done all right. He did all right with Leicester whilst they had really good players, and then Leicester do what they usually do and sell all of their good players, and he just didn't have anything more to give. And I
It's
just
hard
think
as mine, though.
he's not caught enough stick. You know how some managers get too much stick and they shouldn't get that much stick. He's not got enough because he
Graham
should
Potter's
be
probably
criticized more.
yeah. Graham
Um,
Potter got too much stick.
yeah, but fine. He's actually the last name on my list. Graham Potter at Chelsea. Yeah, he didn't do very well, but I think he's been unfairly treated.
It's his system. His system takes a while for players to get used to.
Yeah.
He's not a
He
mid-season
he's
manager.
not a manager to bring in mid-season. He's a manager to
But
bring in at the start of the season, so he has a full pre-season with players to work with them. This is my tactics. This is what I want, and then you can start implementing it on the first day of the
but
season.
I think he knew if I don't take it now, I might not get this for another 5 years.
True,
I might not
true.
get this opportunity. Living
But
London big.
management's a long time, He should have understood that. 5 years. You stay at Brighton, or you move to a Tottenham or something like that. A
So like Tottenham job now.
fighting for fourth.
Yeah.
Whereas Chelsea, the expectations, because of the Champions League wins, because of the Premier League wins, the expectation of those fans is like, you have to be striving for trophies. Whereas Tottenham, those expectations are not for trophies.
Again, I know Leicester have done really, really bad this season, but I think that's where Leicester struggled. Leicester have been a what's it called? What's it called? When you the thing that goes up and down. The,
Yo yo.
yeah, they've been a yo-yo club, up and down, up and down. They won the Premier League. They won some trophies. Some of the trophies all down to Brendan Rodgers. And then it's like, oh, we're a big club now. We're a top side. James Madison said it himself. And now it's like, oh shit. It's like, Ali, like,
I think they might go down. I
I think
think
they will
they'll
go.
lose the
I think they will
championship.
go down. I'll be sad to see them go down. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, they've kind of took this thing of big club. Like, they're really not a big club, are they?
No. Well, yeah, so they are our best Premier League managers and worst Premier League managers. If you disagree with us, and I'm sure a lot of you will, please comment down below. We want to create good discussions on this channel. And please be sure to subscribe and click the like button because that really helps us out. We'll see you next time.